Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, I'm just thinking more about Mark chapter 5. We've read about and talked about the man who was possessed by the legion of demons, about the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years and spent all she had on doctors and there was no cure, and about Jairus and his daughter who was dying and who actually did die, but Jesus went and raised her back to life. And so I've been thinking about those three stories and how they're all right on top of each other there in Mark chapter 5. And there's a few kind of overall observations I want to make. The first one is posture. And so we see the man with the unclean spirit. He comes to Jesus and he throws himself at Jesus' feet. We see Jairus, the ruler of the synagogue, the leader of the synagogue. He comes to Jesus and he bows before Jesus. He's at Jesus' feet and on his knees. And then we see the woman, and when the woman is discovered by Jesus that she had touched his garments and that she's the one who was healed, she falls before Jesus' feet and bows before him. And so we have all three at the feet of Jesus: the man with the unclean spirit, Jairus, the synagogue leader, and then the woman with the issue of blood. All three at the feet of Jesus. And I think Mark is kind of reminding us, just as he emphasizes that in the telling of the stories, that we need to make sure that we place ourselves at the feet of Jesus, that's the posture that we need to assume, that Jesus is the one who has authority, and we come before Jesus, to Jesus, on bended knee, recognizing his authority. So that's one observation. I think a second observation is faith, and this especially gets emphasized with the woman who has been bleeding for 12 years and Jairus, the father of the girl who's dying and who does die. And you'll recall that Jesus tells the woman, "Daughter, your faith has healed you." And then when Jairus gets the news that his daughter is dead, Jesus says, "Don't fear, just believe." And we need to make sure that we recognize that this faith that saves is faith in Jesus. So it's not simply, Jairus, you just got to believe that things are going to turn out okay. You just got to believe that it's, that she's going to live. The reason why he's supposed to believe what he's supposed to believe, it's in the one that's going with him. And so don't be afraid, just believe, and I'll fill in the blank. I'm with you. I'm going to raise her from the dead. Just like with the woman who had the issue of blood, it's not simply that she believed she was going to get better. It's not that she believed that everything was going to work out. No, her faith was in Jesus. And so important for us to recognize just the importance of believing, yes, but especially of believing in Jesus, that Jesus is the one who saves. That kind of brings me to a third observation. We recognize this saving power of Jesus, that Jesus has the power to save, Jesus has the will to save. And we see quite a spectrum here. And so we see Jesus saving this man from unclean, demonic spirits that would rob him of his humanity. We see Jesus saving this woman who had this issue of blood, and there was no cure for her. Doctors could not do it. And so, the impossible cure. And then we see Jesus raising Jairus' daughter back to life from the dead. And so there's nothing that is too difficult for Jesus. None of these things are an equal match for Jesus. So the unclean spirits that rob the man of his humanity, no match for Jesus. The incurable disease, the woman bleeding for 12 years, no match for Jesus. And even death, no match for Jesus. And so we see the power, the authority, and the will of Jesus to save. So those are three major observations that we need to make sure we take away. But there's a couple more things that I have been thinking about with this. And so I guess the first thing I've been thinking about is the 12. And so the woman has been bleeding for 12 years. Mark also lets us know that Jairus' daughter was 12 years old. And so 12 and 12, and why does Mark have those details? And I can't help but think about the children of Israel. Can't help but think about the 12 tribes, the people of Israel. And then I think a little bit more in terms of the man with the unclean spirit. That man was on the Gentile side of the lake, that Jesus had the disciples get in the boat, cross over to the other side of the lake, the unclean spirit, the unclean pigs. It was Gentile territory. And so Jesus has power to save Gentiles. And then back to the Jewish side of the lake, we get the woman with the 12 years of bleeding, Jairus with his 12-year-old daughter, and it just reminds me that Jesus has the power to save all peoples, the Jewish people and the Gentile people, that there is no one beyond the scope of his salvation. And it also highlights the need of the people of Israel to be saved. The woman, hopelessly bleeding, except for Jesus. The daughter of Jairus, 12 years old, hopelessly dead, except for Jesus. And so the power of Jesus to save his own people, the Jewish people, but the power of Jesus to save all people on the other side of the lake, that Gentile man. One more thing. So Jesus told the Gentile man, the man with the unclean spirit who wanted to follow him, no, go back to your own people, go back to your own village and tell them everything that the Lord has done for you. Whereas for Jairus, after he raised, the Jewish synagogue's leader daughter back to life, Jesus tells them, don't tell anyone about this. Quite a contrast. The Gentile man on the Gentile side of the lake, go tell everyone what the Lord has done for you. The synagogue leader on the Jewish side of the lake, amongst Jewish people, don't tell anyone about what I just did. Kind of wonder what's up with that. We'll see this, more as we proceed through Mark. And I'll just kind of give a hint, at least in terms of what I think is going on, that Jesus doesn't want to be squeezed into having to be a Messiah that he's not. He is the Messiah, but he has a particular mission. And the mission may be a little bit confusing. And so Jesus is telling the Jewish people that he's healed, that he's cured, that he's saved. Don't tell anyone, because Jesus wants to define who he is and what his mission is on his terms and not be forced into a box that doesn't fit him. Anyways, lots to think about, lots to chew on with chapter 5, but the biggest thing, there's nothing that is a match to Jesus. That Jesus' power is matchless. The unclean spirit that robbed the man of his humanity, the bleeding that was hopeless, no cure for, and then even death. No match for Jesus. And so wherever you find yourself scattered today, I don't know what you're up against, but I do know this, that if Jesus is with you, you can face it. Just keep your faith in him, and he will bring you through and out the other side with life, with peace, with wholeness. God bless. Have a great day.